Alright guys, I'm back. I told you I'd go over my auction league, who I drafted and for what dollar amount. We have $100. I know a lot of magazines go off of $200 to spin. We have 100. We've been doing that for about 8-9 years where we've been doing the auction setup with $100. So I'll just go right down the list. This isn't in the order that it went, but because I don't remember that, but definitely this is the dollar amount. So my quarterback, Cam Newton, for $3. I'm not a huge fan of Cam Newton, but I remember this was late in the draft. I think I only had $3 left. Picked up Cam Newton, started him once the whole year. Next one was Russell Wilson. And so I know a lot of formats he wasn't a huge player, but I'm in a standard league, a point for every 10 yards rushing, a point for every 25 yards passing, and 4 points passing touchdown, 6 points rushing touchdown. So he was the third best quarterback in the league, and I got him for $3. This started, one thing you need to learn about fantasy football, you need to check your ego, you need to check the teams you like and don't like at the door. I'm close to Denver. Yes, I owned Russell Wilson. And it started last year, sitting there watching the Super Bowl by myself. I went to a room by myself because I was so depressed. Watching it in a room by myself, totally depressed. And I said, this kid is a cool customer. He's not fazed by the situation. The game is not too big for him. And I was like, he's just getting it. I did realize that game, he's just getting it. I knew he was going to be my quarterback the next year, and I was going to get him cheap, and I did. So he was one of the big reasons that I won, especially toward late in the year. My big pickup was LeSean McCoy for 32 points, or $32. I know that he had a very pedestrian year, to say the least. I didn't realize that Sproles was going to come in and take that much away from him like he did. So that was 32% of my draft. He was the first person I picked up. However, I did get Arian Foster for $17. I figured he only played half the season last year. He's well rested. And when he's playing, he's a top back. And if I could make it through, say, 7 or 8 weeks and trade him for value, that was my goal. However, he was doing so well for me, I didn't trade him. I just kept him the rest of the year, and he did awesome for me for $17. Pretty good steal in that draft. Reggie Bush, $8. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. I figured with that Lions offense, he'd come in, be my flex running back. But it just really didn't happen. I started him week 1, and that was it. I don't know why I didn't drop him, but the rest of my team was so stacked I really didn't even need to use him at all. Maurice Jones-Drew for $3, yeah, and McFadden for $1. I figured somebody on the Raiders was going to be running the ball. Those were both dropped within 2 weeks, but I figured $3 and $1. It didn't really matter, but I quickly dropped them. That's going to happen in drafts. You don't know, especially with Maurice Jones-Drew coming to a new team. You don't know. He could have put up 1,300 yards and 9-10 touchdowns. That definitely didn't happen, though. Jordan Cameron for $4. You don't need to have a tight end in this league. I figured, with Gordon out, the Browns were going to have to be passing to someone. It didn't really turn out to be Jordan Cameron. So, that's going to happen. You take risks, especially late in the draft. This was late in the draft. $4, that's 4% of your draft. Kind of took a flyer, didn't pan out. Started him week 1, and that was it. Hakeem Nicks for $1, same situation. Didn't even pan out. Didn't even start him the whole year. Larry Fitzgerald, $6. Started him 1 or 2 weeks. That was it. Quickly dropped him. He just wasn't panning out. I figured with Carson Palmer throwing him the ball, he'd have a decent year. Didn't happen. Antonio Brown, $15. Now, Antonio Brown ended up being the top receiver in pretty much every league out there. definitely in my league. He was by far the number one wide receiver. I got him for $15. I thought he was a steal. Calvin Johnson went for 26. Demaryius Thomas went for 23. Des Bryant went for 20. So, I mean, to get Antonio Brown at 15, that was a total steal, total no-brainer. Start him every single week. One of the reasons why I won the championship. Kelvin Benjamin for $1. Now, I felt this was a steal. I know the history of rookie wide receivers. You know, in the past decade, maybe a couple have made the top 25. I understand all those risks, and I typically don't touch a wide receiver until year 3. The thing with Kelvin Benjamin was, who are they going to throw to? I mean, who is Cam Newton going to throw to? They got rid of Steve Smith. They got rid of everyone. Kotchery, LaFell, anyone you said, I mean, you could think of, they got rid of. There was Greg Olsen and Kelvin Benjamin. I thought this was a no-brainer. I got him with $1 left in the draft. I remember this. I had $1 left. I said, Kelvin Benjamin, $1. Passed around. I got him. I was ecstatic because I knew he would have a solid year. I mean, he would have won Rookie of the Year if it wasn't for Odell Beckham coming in, second half of the season and tearing it up. So he started most of the weeks for me until I picked up Odell Beckham. Then I had my defense was Seattle for $3. I got them pretty early on because a lot of people like to flex defenses. I hear this all the time. I flex a defense. I drop a defense, pick up, defense who's playing a, terrible offense that week. Well, that's great if you can just have unlimited ads and drops. Well, in this league, you can only do one ad a week. So basically, you really have to time out. You don't want to be dropping and adding a defense every week when there's people like Jeremy Hill out there available on the waiver wire. When there's Odell Beckham on the waiver wire, you don't want to be dropping and adding a defense to try to make up a couple points. So in this league, I went out early, did Seattle $3. They didn't do that great for me, but at least it was a solid defense. I didn't have to worry about who I was going to start, week in, week out. The Chiefs for $1, I ended up dropping them really quick. Picked up the Vikings defense because the Vikings are a pretty terrible team, but their defense was pretty good. Couple games where they got me multiple touchdowns. So it worked out pretty well. Gostkowski, kicker, $1. I just went right out. He was one of the first people I threw out. No one wants to blow their money on a kicker at the beginning of the draft. So when everyone's like, I nominate Adrian Peterson, I went out and nominated Gostkowski. I knew he was going to be the top kicker or right up there. He always is. And I got him for $1. Never had to worry about dropping or adding, a kicker the rest of the year. I got Shane Graham as a backup for $1 for the Saints. I figured high-powered offense. Started him 1 week when Gostkowski had a bye. Basically, that was my lineup. I'll go through in the next video. I'll go through my ads and drops, the dates I did it. Like week 3, I picked up Jeremy Hill, hoping that Bernard might get hurt or, injured for a couple weeks throughout the year, and I would get his points, and that happened, and it happened in a big way. I picked up Odell Beckham halfway through the year, which turned out awesome, of course. So basically, next video, I'll go through thought process of every week, adding and dropping people, and kind of what I was thinking. So that was my roster. So basically, to recap, every week was basically Russell Wilson as my quarterback, who ended up being the third best quarterback in my league, LaShawn McCoy, Arian Foster, and I typically flex Jeremy Hill in there once I owned him. But definitely sometimes Kelvin Benjamin would be in there as my third player. And then obviously wide receiver, Antonio Brown every week. And then Odell Beckham as my other wide receiver. And like I said, my flex would be Kelvin Benjamin or Jeremy Hill, depending on the matchups and depending on what was going on there. So won the Super Bowl. Was extremely stoked about it. Won the point total as well. My league has a point total because we figured that's point total over 13 weeks is the best team. So I had the best team throughout the year, and then I did win the Super Bowl. So basically, I want this to be that like that for everybody out there this year. My goal is to have 1,000 or 2,000 friends on this YouTube channel to help every week, like to pick up those ads. Like, I'm living in New York. You need to check out Odell Beckham. I was extremely excited for the Giants when they got him, when they drafted him. Watkins and him were really close, but I knew he'd be great with Cruz. And when Cruz got hurt, who else are they going to throw to? You really have to figure out on a team, who are they going to throw to? And like I said, Kelvin Benjamin was in that category this year. So I don't know. Future videos, I'll just kind of recap the season, kind of get you in depth of what I was thinking throughout the year. And then, of course, we're going to head on to next year. I'm going to start giving out who I think will be the top pick next year in the draft, and the top first rounders. It's kind of hard because a lot of different leagues have different scoring systems. So you're really going to have to pay attention to that, tailor it to your scoring system for your personal league. If you get points per reception, you want to focus in on a lot of wide receivers to get a lot of receptions. And like I said, Russell Wilson, for some of my friends' league, they were like, he's like the 8th or 9th best quarterback. In my league, he's the number 3. You have to know the scoring system for your league. And most people do, and tailor it to your needs, and that'll help on draft day. So like I said, we're going to do this all off season. It is the end of January, getting ready for the Super Bowl. And I'm going to be doing this all off season. So I can't wait to build up a fan base, or subscriber base, I should say. Get everyone sharing data, commenting what you think, what you don't think. What do you agree with, what you don't agree with. And we're going to win some Super Bowls this year, guys. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Men, women, children, let's all get in on this and just have a good time. So I'll talk to you soon.